You may be in a relationship right now with a narcissist. Maybe this person is a spouse, a family member, a boss, or a coworker. Someone in your life you just can't avoid. And even though much of the literature out there says to run, to go no contact, to not have anything to do with such people, and all for good reason, it's not always that simple. Sometimes you just cannot simply end a relationship with a narcissist. And sometimes God may have you in a relationship with a narcissist for a season in your life for your sake, because He is preparing you for the plans He has for you. So if you are one of those people who is in a relationship with a narcissist, and it seems to be something God either allowed or orchestrated, because that can happen too, it could be because there are some things God is working on in your heart. In this video, I will be sharing with you 5 things that God may be working on in your life while you are in a relationship with a narcissist. Now, I did do a video on 5 ways that God uses toxic relationships for good in your life, which I would encourage you to watch with this video. However, this video is separate and different, and it adds a whole other dimension to that video. Now, before we get into it, for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Shaneen Megji. Welcome to my channel called Toxicity is Not Your Destiny, where I put out weekly videos on how to navigate toxic relationships and environments in your life from a biblical, practical, and spiritual perspective. So if you're interested in receiving content from me on a regular basis, subscribe to my channel and click on the bell so that you can be the first to know whenever I upload a video. And without further ado, let's dive into the subject. A wise teacher named Rick Joyner says a lot, don't waste your trials. In fact, Scripture says to consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. So if you read between the lines, we should make the most out of our trials, because there are massive gems in the Spirit that we can glean if we don't waste those trials, because God says that our faith is worth more than gold. So just imagine that every trial is like having access to a spiritual gold mine, but then it's up to you on how much gold you want to cultivate every time you go through something difficult. In a relationship with a narcissist that involves going through a cycle of valuing and devaluing and narcissistic abuse and being rejected or betrayed by people we love is definitely a huge trial. So I want you to know that God sees you, He loves you, and He is for you. In this video, I want to share about how your trial with the narcissist in your life can be an opportunity to cultivate some gold out of that gold mine, basically storing up some treasures in heaven. So before getting into it, I just want to preamble this teaching by saying that when the Bible calls you to embrace your trials, it is not condoning the narcissist's abusive behavior. A Christian's call to be loving, humble, teachable, having a servant's heart is not a license for someone who has influence in your life to twist God's words in order to exploit those virtues. That is a sin. And so that being said, even if the narcissist is sinning, even if God doesn't condone the narcissist's pride, arrogance, lies, manipulation, etc., and even if God will have His way in bringing justice and vindication in His way and timing, it doesn't stop God from still using the narcissist in your life to work out some things in your heart, if you are open and teachable for it. And that's just because God does not waste an opportunity. He is a master economist. So every experience we go through in life can serve as a teacher to help us to grow and become higher versions of ourselves. So the 5 things I'm about to share in this video are tips on how you can turn the lemons of your relationship with the narcissist into lemonade, and how God can use it for good. So with all that said, let's now jump into the subject. Number 1, narcissists are fault finders. They will find faults with you. If you are humble and teachable, it will force you to deal with your faults. Narcissists are not wrong. They may actually be very right about the faults they find in other people because they're trained to see other people's faults. They are wired to be overly sensitive to other people's faults, but blind to their own. So when they see your faults, they could very well be real faults that you have. So it's an opportunity to get a lot of feedback that normal people would never have the gall to confront you on, because most people don't like to confront other people. Most people dislike confrontation and conflict. They would rather just avoid it or sugarcoat a lot of things. But narcissists thrive on conflict. They're high conflict individuals. So therefore, they have no trouble confronting you about every single little flaw in your personality and everything about you. A relationship with a narcissist can force you to work on yourself. You get a lot of feedback that you would never get otherwise from other bosses or leaders or spouses or friends or coworkers or family members, because most people are not actually trained to see flaws in the same way as narcissists do. And if they do see flaws, they're not likely to say it. But think of the narcissists like those scanners in the security check at the airport, or those police dogs that can just sniff out anything. And that's how acutely sensitive narcissists are to your faults, especially faults that are in connection with them feeling slighted by you in any way. So you can be going around life having a ton of blind spots and being unaware, lacking self-awareness, but sometimes it takes a narcissist to help you grow in self-awareness. It really does. So that's one thing they can do to help you. And I mean, if you can be humble and teachable and just, take it as really valuable feedback to work on yourself and grow the parts of yourself that need to change, you'll do super well. The second way that God may use a narcissist in your life is helping you to grow to become more desensitized to what people think about you. Because a narcissist is so up and down, because they can criticize you one day, tear you to pieces, and flatter you the next day. So you don't know where the wind blows with a narcissist. And so going through that can help you to become less fazed. And verbal abuse is still verbal abuse, so I'm not minimizing the effects in any way. Just know that, because you don't want to be in an environment like that. I'm not condoning an environment like that. But if you are in one, on the flip side, it can help you to master your own emotions. It can help you to be a master over your emotions, over the battlefield of your mind, to not allow somebody else to determine the weather forecast in your own mind and your own emotions. So it can train you in mastery if you use it that way. It trains you to learn not to be so triggered and dictated by the moods and the jabs of a narcissist. It can really help you to walk in the fruit of self-control. The third way that God may use a narcissist in your life is to train you to abide in His peace. Because while the environment around you may feel turbulent and chaotic, you have to learn how to cultivate a sanctuary of peace, an inner sanctuary with God within yourself, which trains you really to have a peace that can transcend any situation in your life, any turbulent situation. So if you can learn how to walk in peace and the peace of Christ while you're in the chaos of a narcissist and all the drama they bring into life, if you can be in that place of having an inner sanctuary with God and growing through it, that is an amazing strength, especially in these times that we're living in. Now, the fourth thing God may be doing in your heart while you're in a relationship with a narcissist, He may also be training you on going beyond your limits, enlarging your capacity, stretching you so that you are able to take on more capacity. Narcissists are extremely demanding. Their unrealistic demands and expectations of you and high levels of entitlement will put you in a place where you have to push yourself to levels you've never pushed yourself to before. And maybe other environments would have never pushed you to that level, because narcissists are so demanding and entitled. So it forces you to enlarge your capacity to take on more in life, to take on more responsibility, to shoulder more burdens, to carry a lot more, to take on a lot more weighty things in life because of what you have to go through. And that is an amazing strength, because in a lot of ways you realize what you're really capable of, and it can force you to discover an inner strength in yourself that you never knew was there. And when you discover that, then you realize that you are able to draw on it in other difficult situations. The fifth fifth way God may be working on your heart. I'm going to just tell you a little story from Scripture. Before King David in the Old Testament became king, he went through a really difficult trial. He was in a battle with all his mighty men, and their wives and their flock, and all their possessions were stolen from them. Now David's men were so furious with David because they thought it was his fault this happened, and they were thinking to stone him. So David lost all his loyal men just like that after he'd gone through so many years of being pursued by Saul and being pursued for his life. So imagine that finally when he gets some respite and he has this beautiful loyal following, that they all turn on him. And so it is not a pretty situation. But what's amazing is that David did not lose heart, and he didn't become dejected and discouraged and quit, but he actually strengthened himself in the Lord. And I believe that it was this strengthening that pleased God so much that God felt he could trust David to become king. And it's not long after that David actually does become king in the Bible. So I share this story because just as David had to go through rejection, betrayals, being turned on, going through a massive loss and destitution, being alone, which are all similar things that can happen to someone who gets discarded by a narcissist, it can just be so devastating. It can be a massive shipwreck. But such trials can be so powerful because they can train you to look to God for strength and comfort like nothing else can, and to find your needs in the Lord, to look to God to provide for everything. Because the only person that can see you and see things for what they really are is God. So a relationship with a narcissist can create an inner strength in God like nothing else can. So friend, these were 5 areas that were super helpful and revelatory for me, and I hope they are helpful and have been helpful for you. Remember, you are not just a survivor. You are not just an overcomer or just a conqueror, but you are more than a conqueror through Christ who loves you. So remember that you have so much in you. There's so much gold, there's so much potential, and sometimes we just don't know it yet because it takes a certain environment to bring out the gold that is in us. And so I just pray that even though you might be going through a really difficult time, there would also be a time of encountering the gold in yourself like nothing else, and cultivating more gold and having a walk with God like you never would have had if you weren't in the situation. So I bless you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you would like to see more content from me and have not subscribed yet, click that subscribe button and click the bell so that you can get all the alerts, because every single week I will be posting a new video to empower you to navigate toxic relationships in your life. And if you like the video, please give it a like. This helps me to know what kind of content I should create and put out there for you. And if you have suggestions of other topics you would like me to cover, please feel free to drop your ideas into the comment section. I do read all of your comments. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.